to the RunRX Podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running.
Welcome back to the RunRX Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Coach, we get this question, especially from our members, the people that have been following you for a while and know you pretty well. Why don't we talk about nutrition and like gear, like, salt tablets and things like that? We don't talk about that really at all. And why is that? Why? I know why I don't. Why do you feel like as a coach, you don't talk about that much?
Well, because number one is we stick to what our product is, and our product is running pain-free.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to really open your mind to changing your movement of running. I mean, it really is a big undertaking. And then to me, your fueling, your nutrition is another skill, just like running, that you've got to train and you've got to work on. So it's a lot. It's a lot let's see. I believe that there's one really efficient way to run and run really well. However, I believe that nutrition is individual because we all have different habits. We all have different eating patterns. The fun thing I will say, because I've tried it all, I've done it all. So I'm very open to people discussing, like we have a lot of nutrition discussion where people will share products they've used, things they've tried. Because honestly, it's fun to share. The reality, though, is that as you are running and as you are, say you're training to run longer, you're doing a longer event, I'm going to be encouraging you to practice the same strategy of fueling that you're going to use for your race. You've got to use it in your training. So then it's like I'm giving you advice on kind of how you should be doing things, but not exactly what. Right? Because you take 5 people and you're like, what do you eat for breakfast? You're going to get 5 different answers.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm always amazed that people think that way, that they think that, because, my running friend, she uses these salt tabs, I should use those salt tabs. I'm not saying you can't try them. You know what I mean?
Right. But that's the whole
something
thing.
I have. But
right.
try it. Don't.
Right.
And don't get mad when they don't work for you.
Well, and also, golly, there are so many different companies at this point. There's so many different products. I always tell people, if you're going to eat or drink what they're serving on the course, then find out as far in advance as you can what they're going to have, and then train with it. It's funny, like when and by the way, I'm a nutrition minor. So when I went to college, my major was kinesiology, minored in nutrition. And even then I was like, oh my gosh, they're so dated. Research, guys, it's amazing. It's sometimes it's not going as fast as you wish, in the sense of when I was in college, it was all carbs. Everything was carbs, high carbs, athletes need carbs. We were eating bagels and just pasta. It was great because I was young and in college.
Yeah.
And what they realized is that actually what was happening is the athlete was just getting hydrated because carbs store with so much water. So really the benefit of the carb was way more the hydration factor, not really this carb loading. So everybody was just getting to race day just bloated.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to kind of pivot a little bit because that does bring up that misconception. And over the last 2 years, really, I've seen a lot more of it become mainstream about carbo loading being a myth. And basically that's what you're saying. Even back then, you were already seeing as a nutrition minor that was a myth, that the idea of carbo loading.
Well, and it's just funny because it's our personality as a community. It was very funny. I was also in college when the study came out that drinking coffee stimulates fat burning.
Yes.
And it does. However, it also stimulates you going to the bathroom. So here, all of a sudden, and the funny thing is in the research, it was maybe, I don't know, I want to say it was something like 4 to 6 ounces, not very much at all. And having more did not mean you were going to burn more fat. However, immediately people were like guzzling coffee because they were going to burn more fat. And then you would just see people run to the bathroom.
Right.
So it's like people will take something they've heard and, we just take things to the extreme. So I tell people, some people can have coffee before a run and some people cannot. You've got to test nutrition. But the best part is when you start to run more efficiently, what starts to happen is you feel so much better running. Your running feels better. And then you kind of start to match your nutrition to that, because it is what I'm putting in my system making me feel better when I run, because now my movement feels really good. See, I think it starts to go together. So we do welcome the conversation, especially gear, guys, because same thing. It's like, I wear minimalist shoes and I'm a big fan. However, I'm also a fan of you being comfortable and progressing to your shoe so it feels good for you. So it's the same thing with gear. I mean, share away with these shoes feel good for me. Someone wants to try them, give them a try. I'm a very big fan of that. But I also say progress into everything. Give it a try, see how it goes, except for the running, because we know it's the right thing to do.
Well, and that's really interesting because, I've known you, we're going on, I think it's 5 years now, 5 years in August, we've known each other. And it was really fascinating for up until this last really 6 months, almost 8 months, you've never worn a watch, much less a running watch. And then you started wearing a running watch, which I thought was really interesting because your husband gave it to you. There was a little part of me that's like, does he even know you? And I'm laughing because of course he does. He's known you like, 25 years, 30 years, so of course he knows you. And then you geeked out. I'm not geeked out, but you got really interested in it. You started looking at it before and after, and just, you didn't get it. You haven't gotten obsessed, but it's been fun to watch you understand what our runners in our membership go through and look at when they get that data. And I thought it was just really fascinating because, like I said, I'd known you for years and you just didn't even have it. And then you were so open to it. I just loved that you were open to that gear and to looking at that data. How was that evolution for you?
To be honest, when Garmin first came out, I got a Garmin years ago, and that's back when I was racing. So those were my racing days, and I was just like everybody else. I got fully obsessed. I mean, it was like every run, you never seen those numbers before. Before that, we just wore Timex. So we knew how far we'd run and how long it took us, but that's it. When you could start seeing your pace while you were running, it changed my world. I mean, it really just opened my eyes to, one, my running potential, if you will, but also like perception. Like I used to play games of like, okay, right now I'm running and I feel like I'm running, I don't know, this pace, 9-minute mile. And then I'd look to see, does that match? Right. And in my racing days, my second goal was I wanted to race at like 6:30 paces. So then my goal was to run my distance runs slower, but not much slower. And how do I get more comfortable? So if I'd look at my pace and I would see whatever, 7:30, I would think, how can I relax and be more comfortable? But then I just got to a place after several years of wearing it where I could not run without staring at it, and
I was going to ask you if you ever got obsessed, because I know I went through a period of being really obsessed.
Yeah. So then it became where I wanted to meet or beat every run I'd done. So I started racing. It gets a little bit much. It's the same thing. Like we're all type A people. So
yeah.
So when I stopped racing and I just started running for fun, recreational running, I just stopped wearing a watch and I just started running. I still was running, feeling really good. But then you're right. So many of our runners, they're still running based on that data. Like they love to see the watch. And to me, it's very similar as people that weigh themselves constantly, right? Diet, and they're just always weighing themselves. You have to be careful that you don't let the data run you. You're still the runner. And then you use the data to either, make sure you're running where you want to be running and use it for perception more than a guide, I guess, or more as a guide than as a
absolute.
Yeah.
So
it's, and I think, but since we started with nutrition, I feel the same way. Like I don't have a scale.
Yeah.
and I don't weigh my food or things like that. Some people get really into that. So I tell people it's a little bit like, it's the same thing. If you start to get too into that, then you're forgetting about the joy of just eating. So I was the same way running. Let me just get back to the joy of just going for a run. Now I can put the watch on. I'm not obsessive about it, but I'm having the same kind of fun. I still love to play the game of, I feel like I'm running this, and then to look and see it match. And if it doesn't match, how can I make it match? And that's what we teach you with RunRX. Like if you're running and you're out there running and you're putting a lot of, it feels really good. You're feeling really good. And you feel like, man, I'm running a 10-minute mile, and you look down and it's a 12. You got to be like, okay, well, maybe this is what I feel like today, and this is feeling good. Or could I maybe just lift my line up a little bit, feel myself lift up and look down and see that, oh, I really could be running at 10. I was just letting myself kind of, relax. That's
I think that's what's most important with this whole conversation is the reason why we don't necessarily say use this gear or use this thing or this is the diet plan you should follow, right? Is because we're all individuals. We all get affected by things in different ways. We live in different parts of the world, so other things can affect us, like, heat versus cold and tolerance to that. And I kind of like, we're also superstitious too. I get, you were talking about the nutrition and the watch and stuff like that. I didn't get as obsessed with the watch, but I got very obsessed with, okay, if I eat a peanut butter sandwich with crust 2 hours before, I'll have a good run, right? And then the night before my long run, I had to have Kung Pao chicken from a particular place in Dallas. Like I seriously got kind of like every time I did it. And then of course, when it didn't work, it was like, what did I change? What did I change? So that's the other part of the type A personality, is that we also can be a little superstitious. Like we have to wear, that was what brought it up too. Socks is a great example. You don't wear socks, right? When you run. And I've read countless articles and had so many people tell me, do not wear cotton socks, when that's the only sock I can wear is a very thick, big cotton sock, which goes against everything anybody will tell you. But you have to do, like we're saying, at the end of the day, you have to do what's going to work for you that you've tested. I've tested other socks. I've tested other things, and it hasn't worked for me, and this has consistently. So I'm going to go with that, right? And then be okay with being different from what everyone else is doing. Be okay with being the one that does drink coffee before you run, or doesn't, or eats a full meal before you run. You know what I mean? So I guess that's what I kind of wanted to come back to, is that idea that the reason why we don't do that is, even just between you and I, we're so totally different in how we
can also go back. It's not a standard of eating,
right?
So it's very, 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 very individual. However, there is a standard of movement.
Yes,
for us for running, and so that's
what we focus on.
If you can give nutritional advice to somebody, and ultimately they have to try it and see how it feels on their body. And that's why, and same with gear. Some people love these shorts. Some people love this. And it's fun to try stuff and share ideas, all of that. I love that. However, we believe there's a standard of running. So that's the best part. It's like, regardless of what you eat, what you wear, whatever distance you're training for, we are all going to do this the same. And it's the movement. So that's why for us at RunRX, we are so happy to share about other stuff and have conversations. But then we're like, right here in this part, in the running realm, we're all doing the same training. So that's kind of the fun of it.
And that's what I want to bring you guys back to. So if you are looking for, maybe you're starting back up with running, maybe you are injured, and you're trying to get back out there. Maybe you just, for whatever reason, you're at a stalled point, a plateau in your running, and you want to do more. You feel like there's more in the tank. Maybe there's a marathon you want to run. We would love to have you come in and join us and check out the community. look up the runrx.fit/immersion-2023. We will put the link in the show notes, and go ahead and join us. See what it's like. Get into the immersion. Learn what we're talking about. We're very hands-on for 28 days. And then it's not that we don't become hands-on. We let you start to like, okay, now you know what, it's been about 28 days, 30 days. You know what you're doing. Now go out and start testing it. And go with it for a couple of months and see if you like it. And then if you do and you want to stick with us, we'd love to have you stick with us. But if not, go out and put that run on your schedule. Go out and try what we've taught you. And at least you know you can come back to this community at a later date, or during that time that you're actually training. We're there for you. We're there to help you with gear, talk to you about nutrition, help you figure out what works, what doesn't work. You've got a coach in your pocket, basically, when you come to work with RunRX. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, hopefully you will. We are expanding to YouTube and to Twitter, which is now X. Look for us wherever you socialize with different communities. We're trying to get out there and trying to help more people where you are. So if you like Spotify, listen to us on Spotify. If you like iTunes, go to iTunes. If you like X, go to X. If you like YouTube, go to YouTube. We're even going to add ourselves to Rumble if you're a Rumble fan. We just really want to be there for you to help you run pain-free. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX Podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.